Omer Avuni. We're here at Rabbi Sai. We're on Chaf Aleph, Amud Beis, on the top. The Amud starts here. Omer Avuni. Anichnas lebeis hakneses. One enters the Beis HaKnesses. Umatza tzibur shemispalalim. He's late. Came late. So what's the halacha? Do you now just daven? We came, or as we'll see in a minute, maybe there's something you have to participate with Chatzer Strauss. So it says as follows. The halacha is as follows. Im yachalas k'v'ligmor actually giashatz l'moedim ispalo. The deadline is moedim. You can't not participate in moedim. Not participating in moedim would be in somewhat of an act of kfira. You're not bowing down to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, as long as you finish Shemona Esrei b'moedim, so then go ahead. That's Rav Huna. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, no, that's not enough time. You have to actually finish even earlier than that. You have to be able to complete Shemona Esrei. Im yochol ask v'ligmar asher lo yagia shatz l'kedusha yispalel. You cannot miss kedusha. Kedusha is a mitzvah. So you have to make sure you'll be able to finish by kedusha. So otherwise, what's the alternative? Wait, say kedusha, and then daven Shemona Esrei. My commitment. Ma'asav yachol am kedusha. U'ma'asav. Well, it all depends. If the halacha allows you to say kedusha yourself, Shemona Esrei, there's no need to wait for kedusha. If not, you have to say kedusha, and therefore you need to wait to hold back on your Shemona Esrei till the tzibur reaches kedusha. How do you know Yochid doesn't say kedusha? You want to be in the Kaddish, you need Brachos. My son has to be B'tzoich B'nei Yisrael. You need 10 people. So you have to wait till the Shlit Tzibur does it. My mashma, the Tony Rav Noi, Achvod the B'chia, also Teich. Where is it learned out? You need 10 people. It's just like over there by Kairech. It says Eida. It says remove yourself from the Eida. Ma'alal and Asara. Afkan Asara. Now, everyone obviously assumes mias mafsik or pasik. Everyone assumes that once you begin Shemona Esrei, you may not interrupt your Shemona Esrei for say kedusha. So the choice is either you're going to finish by kedusha or you're going to wait. Okay, we're in the middle of the Amid, Mechaf Aleph Amud Beis. We're about to discuss a question here. The person is saying Shemona Esrei, and in the middle of Shemona Esrei, the Chazan is saying Kaddish, and you want to answer, Yehi Shmer Abba. Shmer Abba is a big Indian. It's a big tefillah. Is it permissible in the middle of Shemona Esrei? That's the shaila. We're in the middle of the Amid. First word in the line. Iboilahu. Mao lahafsik liyeshmein agadol mevarach. So here, ki asr of dimi Omar Yehuda Shimon Talmidov Yehuda Amri lekol ein mafsikin chutz min yehei shmei gadol mevarach. Normally, you can't be mafsik. Chutz min yehei shmei gadol mevarach shafilu oisik b'ma'aseh mekava poisik. So he says that yeah, of course you have to stop. Yesh Rabba, because I'll bring you a raya that you stop in Shemona Esrei. Because if you're in the middle of learning Ma'aseh Merkava, what's Ma'aseh Merkava? Ma'aseh Merkava is what the Chazal basically is the terminology in the words of the Chazal, in the Novi, of Kabbalah, the secrets of Kabbalah, how the Ma'aser Merkava works, how the Kisei HaKavod works, how the Malachim work in Shemayim, which we've learned, which the Navi in Yechezkel explains to us. So if you're Oisek and Ma'aser Merkava, which is, now again, it's a little bit of an interesting comparison because tefillah you're Oimid V'nei HaMelech, you remember speaking to Hashem, but similarly, if you're Oisek and Ma'aser Merkava, it also has a status of Oimid V'nei Hashem, and you're like you're mamish like you're Oisek the Ma'aser Merkava, you're in the Ma'aser Merkava, and yet you answer Heshmei Rabbah. So certainly for tefillah, you also answer tefillah. That is the argument of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. But the Gemara says, so we do not accept that. That's not the Psak Halacha. And you do not stop at all in Shemona Esrei, not for Yeshmei Rabbah, not for Kedusha. Now the truth is, Tosfos goes into a shaila here that mikomakom minig ha'om lishtoik lishmaya v'gadol ha'minig. That yes, the minig really says that we don't interrupt Shemona Esrei, but we use the technique of Shomeka Oine in order to be Yotze Kedusha in Shemona Esrei. But l'chatchila ein lasos kein. That's b'di'evu. We can do that, but that's notwithstanding the Gemara. That's only b'di'evu. That's not something we want to do, because as much as it is Shomeka Oine, then maybe that's called an interruption in Shemona Esrei. And if it's not Shomeka Oine, then you're not Yotze. So it's not so partial. But we do, the meaning is to do that. Because once you're in, once you're Shemona Esrei, you stop. When the Chazal says Kedusha, you stop and listen. Before Kedusha, no. Zoktim Avaiter, Yura Oimer, Mevorech, Lifneim, L'chreim. Okay, we're going back to discussing that about Keri, Rabbi Yehuda says, and again, we'll see, now we're going to learn what the issue is in a minute, but the Mishnah discusses what's the din of about Keri. There's an assumption in the Mishnah here, everybody say that a person saw Keri, for whatever reason, he saw Keri. So the halach is, Keri cannot say Torah, Keri cannot say Kriya Shema. He can't say Birkas Kriya Shema. So what Yehuda says though, no, I don't have a problem with that. You can Mevorech L'fneim L'achreim. You can make the Birkas Kriya Shema. No problem. But Kriya Shema, we said he's Mahara. The Tanakh Rabbi said he's only Mahara. And Rabbi Yehuda says, now we don't know if you say Mahara here or just Mevorech Kipshutoi. So we're going to analyze what is Rabbi Yehuda saying. How does Rabbi Yehuda relate to this din of the Isser of Keri? So the Gemara says, does this mean to say that Rabbi Yehuda comes along and says, I don't buy into this whole Bakeri business? I'll prove to you that's not true. That's something that's muchach, that he also holds of. Why? Where do we come up with this thing? Where did the Mishnah, why is it so posh in the Mishnah? Shenemar. It's actually something we see in the Psukim. Torah tells us, now Torah says that you have to, it's here talking about Torah, we receive the Torah, so it says Torah is something that we have to teach our children, our grandchildren, teach them Torah. Now, the following pasuk says that the day that you stood on Har Sinai, that you received the Torah from Hashem. So there's a we're holding by the middle of the Amud, the two dots. We talk about the Mishnah says that that even though he's a Bakari, he makes the bracha. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? Could that be? Rabbi Shimon Levi. Rabbi Shimon Levi makes the following drasha. You have to teach your children Torah. And then it says right afterwards, the day you stood in Ar Sinai. So what? Malal and Bakari Asurin. We know in the Torah, it's explicit in the Psukim of the Torah, that in order to receive the Torah, it says the men of the Jewish people must separate from their wives. Al tikshu alisha. And we know it says also that they went to be toivel, to remove any tumas keri from them in order to receive the Torah. So we know in our Sinai about keri and asurin to receive the Torah. So too, Afkan Balakeri and Asurin to learn the Torah, to teach the Torah. So why would, if this is based on Psukim, how could it be that Yehuda disagrees? Very strange. And he says you can make Birkas Torah for Abakeri. What's Pshat? So Gemara says, yeah, maybe because this is based on the logic of Smuchim. Smuchim means that when you have two psukim placed next to each other, right, juxtaposed psukim, so then you interpret some halacha. So maybe that's called smuchim. So Rabbi Yehuda is like darish smuchim. That's not true. Rabbi Yosef, didn't Rabbi Yosef said, I feel man, it's true. There are those that disagree about smuchim, but that's only in general. But in Mishnah Torah, in the Sefer Dvarim, when the psukim are there, the whole order is much more random order and different tochachas and musar, and for some reason in Mishnah, whatever the reason exactly is, but for some reason in Dvarim, in Mishnah Torah, they are darish smuchin. Rabbi Yehuda la darish smuchin b'kol Torah kula. Yehuda himself, we're talking about here, doesn't darish smuchin, but Mishnah Torah is darish. Okay, so it doesn't make sense. So we go back to the question: why does Yehuda not accept his din? Now we're just going to go off on a tangent here and show you that how we know this to be true. That people don't. Sometimes you don't darshan kol Torah, but you do darshan in Mishnah Torah. How do you know he doesn't darshan in the rest of the Tanya? The Tanya. That a witch, a sorceress, shall not live. And right next to that it says that a person who's sheichim behema, who commits a gil with behema, must be killed. What's the punishment of sheichiv in behema? Beskila. Get skila. Machshefa also. This is the punishment we give for witchcraft. Nami beskila. Yehuda disagrees. How can you make such an assumption? Just because of the two psukim are next to each other? It can't be. Rather, there's a different reason. I happen to agree, but for a different reason. Take example, Oiv Yadaini. Oiv Yadaini is also a form of witchcraft, which they use some type of witchcraft to communicate with Mesim. So Bichlal Kol Mechashvim, it was included in witchcraft. For Lama Yotzu, why is it excluded? Lahakish Lam Ma Oiv Yadaini B'skila. To teach us skila. Okay, so we see that Yehuda does not darshan smuchin in general terms. But we said he does darshan in dvarim, in Mishnah Torah. Mishnah Torah means only the darish. Tanya, Yehuda leizer oimel, noisa the man who's aviv, mefutas aviv. It says like this: a person, Rav Moshe says, a person is allowed to marry. About a person can't marry his father's wife, meaning his father's wife obviously not his mother, but it means his father had a wife. But what if it's not really a halachic wife of the father? It was a nutzas aviv. It was mefutas aviv was a woman that the father had relations that he was not actually married to. Anusis benoi, mefutas benoi. Rabbi Yehuda oiser, so Rav Moshe permits it. That's not called eishes aviv. So that's permissible. So Rabbi Yehuda oiser banusas aviv. Now Rabbi Yehuda says no. Once the father had relations, it's forbidden. My time, where does Yehuda know this from? So again, we're going to use smuchin. A person cannot marry his father's wife. Again, that means it's not his mother, but it's his father's wife. Now it repeats the concept again. Don't reveal the kanaf aviv. It means, right, don't have relations with your father's wife. Kanaf shara aviv. the woman, the father relationships, leigala. So now, and how do I know? My damanusas aviv ksiv. Now, so here is the smuchin. Okay, so here you see there's a pasuk in Torah that says anusas aviv is forbidden. I say it's forbidden now, but how do you know that those words mean anusas aviv? It doesn't clearly say that. It just says some very cryptic statement. Don't be megala the knaf aviv. What does that mean? So we samichle. The pasuk right afterwards speaks about anusa, about a case of an anusa, a woman who's forced. So we see that proves to us that that's the interpretation of Megala Knaf Aviv. So we see that Amri, that he does darish the smuchin in b'Mishnah Torah, darish. It's true, he does. So we'll go back to the question. So what happened to Bakeri? We have a smuchin in Mishnah Torah. What's going on? So we say, no. That smuchin in Mishnah Torah is arguable. Hani smuchin mi boile, that we need it for something else, to teach you a different concept, a different, very important concept, more of a Musar concept. Hani smuchin mi boile, Levi. He says as follows. And again, we're going back to the original smuchin that we made for Keri, which was the Har Sinai to teaching Torah. We learn as follows. Torah. If somebody teaches child Torah, it's as though, because you're giving over Torah, the Messiah to him, it's as though, I'm not sure if this means that the father receives it, or both of them, or the son receives it, but it's like receiving the Torah in Har Chorev, Shenemar, V'hoidatam d'banecha u'bnei banecha. What I told you on Har Sinai. Sorry. That you should teach your children. Then it says afterwards, the day that you stood on Har Chorev. Do a little more. It's not Zov Shira Keri. So this is going to be a proof. We're going to prove this halacha here as to whether or not what is the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Again, remember, we have machlekes in the Mishnah. Is there a din for an iser for Bakeri to say Torah? How do we treat this din of Keri? Yehuda seems to say not a big deal. That's what we're suing right now. So we're going to analyze that from a Mishnah coming up later on, coming up soon. It says like this. Again, person who sees there's two. Let me just give an injunction here. We'll do another 2 minutes here. About Keri in the Torah, there's two dinim. There's one din. The Torah says there are different tumas of a goof, right? Besides one person is tummy to a mace, but there's Keri. Right? A person who emits Keri is tameh. He can't go into the Beis Hamikdash. He can't touch truma. He's metama. He's a Keri. So he has to go to the mikveh. You know, the mikveh becomes Torah. So he has to go to the mikveh after. Now, about Keri, similarly, there's other similar tumas. Nida, a woman who has blood, also is a similar type of tumah. Also can't go to the mikdash, can't touch truma. And also the zov, or a man that has a different type of, not a Keri, some type of illness, some emission. Also, okay, that's in the Torah. Okay. Now, there's the halacha that we're discussing in our Mishnah here is a different din of Keri. There's another din of Keri that a person's a Keri, he has to go to the mikveh because the Chazal, or the Torah, or maybe Ezra, whatever it is, forbids him to learn Torah. There's nothing to do with truma or anything, or actually, it's not. It's just it's another din. It's not in the Torah. It's not real in Torah. It's just we have a source from the smuchim, but it's not the main din of carrying the Torah. Okay, so now what gets sticky is now we're going to see a situation where now this is one more important introduction is that you see azav, a person has a submission, or a woman nida, so both of them need 7 days of tumah. They're forbidden to enter the Beis Hamikdash or touch Truma for 7 days. And only then can they go to the mikveh and become Torah. Whereas a person who sees Keri he has to wait to the end of the day, and then he goes to the mikveh, and then he's Torah that night. Okay? So there's difference. So therefore, there's an interesting Mishnah. It says like this. You have a Zav. The guy who had it's a Zov, he had the mission. Again, remember that's not Keri. Shirah Keri. And then after that, he's Keri. So he's double. Now he has a problem because it's not going to help him to go to the mikveh. He's going to be stuck big as Zov even after he goes to the mikveh. Well, but yet there's no din of a Zav learning Torah. There is no such problem. Right? V'nida, similarly, a woman who's a Nida, shepolta shichva zera. Now, just like a man who has Keri, a woman has relations with a man, and she also has shichva zera. She also has this status of Balkeri, right? That she had in her shichva zera. She's poiled the shichva zera. Even afterwards, that's why in the Torah it says the women also had to make sure that they went to the mikveh and that they didn't have shichva zera for 3 days. That's why they had to separate for 3 days, because a woman could have shichva zera come out of her up to 3 days after she's with a man, right? So and that's one din. And then Amishameshes, a woman who is also with a man and she has shichva zera, v'ras adam. So either order, they're both the same. Bottom line is she's left with this. Now the order is important a little bit, but either they started off with Zav or Nida and then became Keri, or even if she started off Keri and then she got Nida. So the Chacham say, Tzrichin Tefillah, meaning to say, if they want to learn Torah, you must get Tefillah. Now you might say, well, listen, why do I need Tefillah? I have to go again next week. I'm a Zav. Like, what's going to help? No, but you can't learn Torah until you go. And Rabbi Yehuda Poiter, Rabbi Yehuda says, this is pointless. This is not, we were never obligating Tefillah over here because he anyways is stuck doing Tefillah. It's not going to help him. That's not the Tefillah we obligate. So Ad Kan LaPoter Yehuda LeBezav Shirah Keri to be Karalav Bar Tefillah. So when does Rabbi Yehuda Poiter? He says he potters in the case of a Zav. Bezav, first he's a Shirah Keri. In this case, this combination case. When does Yehuda Pater? In the combination, that's just saying, you have to do it twice. You don't have to, there's no Keri, there's no din Keri over here. Okay? Now we're getting to one little side point, don't get confused in this. Now there were two cases, right? If I had to come maflik Bezav Shirah Keri, so why talk about the case, why do you have to bring the whole case of, well, he was a Zav, and then he saw Keri. First, he was ready, he needs to go to mikveh. And then he also added Keri. Why is it? Obviously, if he says even the other way, he says you don't have to go. Certainly, this is, the case of Zav is already I have to go to mikveh. So now I get added the Keri, it makes it even more irrelevant. You're just adding something, so we don't deal with that. No, but that's like Yichah Kachit Rabbanan, that even though it was just added, you still have to go. Oh, so 1 second. But the point is, but you see, I'm sorry, did I skip a line? Maybe I skipped a line. Ad kan LaPoter Rabbi Yehuda LeBezav Shirah Keri Mikar La Bar Tefilo. Av Bar Keri Greda Mechayev. But you see that a regular Bar Keri, Rabbi Yehuda agrees that a Bar Keri can't learn Torah. There's a whole discussion about the specific case of Bar Keri. But a regular Keri now. Okay, well, it was late. We're going to stop here. Okay? We'll pick it up after Shabbos.